The Haunting at Old Hollow Creek. It was a moonless October night when Mark and Lisa decided to take a shortcut through Old Hollow Creek, a dense forest known for its ghost stories and eerie silence. They were just trying to make it home quicker from a late-night bonfire at a friend's house. Though the path was seldom used and everyone in town had warned them about the whispers of the woods, Mark laughed it off. Just local legends, he'd say. As they entered the forest, the darkness seemed to swallow the light of their flashlights. Thick fog rose from the damp ground, and the towering trees loomed like tall, skeletal giants. The path was narrow, and the crunch of fallen leaves beneath their feet was the only sound breaking the silence. But then, the whispers began. At first it was soft, like a distant rustle. Lisa thought it was just the wind, but Mark stopped, holding up a hand to silence her. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. They both strained their ears and heard it clearly this time. A faint, disjointed murmuring, like multiple voices speaking in hushed tones, too garbled to make out any words. "Let's just keep going," Lisa urged, grabbing Mark's hand tightly. They picked up their pace, but the whispers followed, louder and more insistent, growing into what felt like frantic chatter. Panic gripped Lisa's chest as the whispers seemed to form words, pleading, desperate voices that spoke of help, trapped, and never leave. Mark tried to keep his composure, but when the flashlight flickered, they both froze. In that split second of darkness, they saw them. Figures just a few feet away, pale faces, sunken eyes, and gaunt limbs draped in tattered clothing. They were everywhere, surrounding the path, their eyes fixed on Mark and Lisa. When the flashlight came back on, the figures were gone, but the whispers had grown into screams, wailing and begging for release. They ran. Branches scraped their arms and faces as they bolted through the underbrush, losing the path in their desperation to escape. It felt like the forest was closing in on them, the fog growing thicker and more oppressive until they couldn't tell which way was out. Suddenly, Lisa tripped and fell hard, pulling Mark down with her. As they struggled to get back on their feet, the ground gave way beneath them and they tumbled into an old, shallow grave. They landed on something soft, and as they shone their light around, they saw that they were surrounded by bones, human bones, scattered in piles. Some were ancient, but others looked fresh, still clothed and flesh barely decomposing. A chilling voice, louder than the rest, cut through the cacophony of screams. "You shouldn't have come here." They turned to see an apparition, a woman with hollow eyes and long, wild hair. Her skeletal hand reached out toward them, her face twisted with rage and sorrow. "You will stay, like the others." Mark grabbed Lisa's arm and pulled her out of the grave, and they scrambled to their feet, running blindly through the forest. The voices chased them, the figures materializing and vanishing at the edge of the light, as if herding them toward something. Finally, they saw it, a dilapidated wooden bridge at the edge of the forest. They sprinted across it, feeling as if invisible hands were grabbing at their ankles, trying to pull them back. The moment they reached the other side, the whispers stopped. The fog lifted, and the moon emerged from behind a cloud, lighting the way to the road just beyond the forest. Gasping for breath, Mark and Lisa ran the rest of the way home, not daring to look back. The next day, they went to the town sheriff and told him everything. He nodded grimly. "Old Hollow Creek's cursed," he said. "It's been swallowing souls for over 100 years. People disappear without a trace. You're lucky to have made it out alive." Mark and Lisa moved away shortly after, but the nightmares never left them. And every October, on a moonless night, they could still hear the whispers, the voices of the trapped souls of Old Hollow Creek, calling out for help, forever lost in the darkness.